Today on the show, we have a lot to talk about. We are, of course, going to talk about the Super Bowl, but we also want to talk about this really horrible and devastating thing that is happening in the bizarre kidnapping of Today's Show hosts Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie. We're going to talk about Rebecca's special interest, Tulsi Gabbard's whistleblower complaint, and the strange letter from a senator to the CIA. Then later, it's our Trump and FBI election interference and fears. And we'll wrap it up with some Bad Bunny and Super Bowl culture wars with Megan Gailey. All right. Cheers to that. Let's talk about this. Unfortunately, we have a really sad story to kick it off with. I want to talk about this. The kidnapping of Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy, has been this really strange and sad story. And in case you missed it, Nancy Guthrie was last seen over the weekend. Her family reported her missing Sunday when she didn't show up to church. Authorities quickly escalated this to a suspected kidnapping. Investigators say Nancy had limited mobility and relied on daily medication, making it unlikely that she left on her own. Her home was treated as a crime scene, and blood that was found on the front porch has been linked to Nancy. It's also been discovered, and I feel like this was in the last 24 hours, that security cameras had been disconnected. And I think this is just one of those stories that has taken everyone sort of by absolute surprise. And then as it's continued, we've seen things like an alleged ransom note that's been circulating. It was sent directly to TMZ. And this is how the FBI, we actually have a clip, described that ransom note.
The ransom note that was distributed to the media did make a demand for 5 p.m. today. And if a transfer wasn't made, then I think a second demand was for next Monday. We're not going to go beyond that, but that was the ransom note the media received.
Did it indicate what would happen if they didn't meet that ransom?
We're not going to go into those specifics. Thank you.
Okay, and then we also have this video that Savannah Guthrie and her siblings made pleading to the kidnappers. I think we have a clip of that as well.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer. We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk.
I mean, there's been a lot of investigation to possible suspects. I know that people were saying that her brother-in-law was a suspect because I think he was the last person to see Nancy Guthrie because he dropped Nancy Guthrie had dinner at Savannah Guthrie's sister's house. She'd taken an Uber there. They've investigated the Uber driver. Apparently he's been cleared. So there don't seem to be any clear suspects yet. And in the meantime, Trump has been putting that pettiness aside and saying that they're deploying all resources to get her mom home safely. Y'all, what do you make of this case?
I want to kick it. Yeah, I want to kick it to Carolina.
It's just like another perfect storyline into this bizarro dimension that we live in. It doesn't make any sense. Why are they sending the ransom letter to TMZ? And why is it now that Trump feels like he has to say something about it? It just, everything, I mean, what a time for conspiracy theorists because everything just feels like it's connected and they're like, oh, she's in the Epstein files. Like, I don't even know what to make of all of this. Like, it's a red herring, it's a distraction, it's all this, that. But like, I mean, I wish it was my grandma, but like, I feel really bad for her. But it doesn't make any sense. And it's definitely either the family or related to like the administration or something. There's just too many different theories going around about it.
It's one of those stories where it's like, it's hard not, because I texted you last night, Meredith, and I was like, do you think this is politically motivated? And the reason that I asked that was because Trump is usually so like Rob Reiner, he was so petty with, and like, you know,
disgusting.
He has no problem being disgusting with people who, especially in the media, people who have like, not that she's spoken out against him, but she hasn't been like a friend.
She hasn't been doing him favors.
No. And I saw Megyn Kelly come to her aid too. And so there was something in me that I was like, is there something political happening here? Like how odd that like this is the one that they've they've connected to. And then the other thing that I was thinking about that is just like, okay, so in this ransom note, again, like we don't know for sure if it's real, but they're asking for Bitcoin. I think, I forget what exactly. They're asking for Bitcoin, which like, that's how I, millennial boomer, think of Bitcoin is like, yeah, it's for kidnappers who take people and want a way of like getting money untraceably. And the same time this week, there was a story about an Emirati royal right before Trump's inauguration last year, buying $500 million worth of stake in his personal cryptocurrency company, Trump's cryptocurrency company. And then Trump, like 6 months later, gave them a bunch of AI chips. And like, I just like to like, make a conspiracy even more like convoluted. I'm just saying, like, it's fascinating to see like this Savannah Guthrie case is like, that's where it would make sense that Bitcoin would show up as part of the conversation. To see it being used in like the highest levels of government is so bizarre. I don't know. Like
the whole theatrics of it is very Trump-esque. Like how
it's all very corrupt, and it's hard to know what's real. And yeah, like these things don't. I'm not saying that these things connect. It's just interesting to me that like, it makes sense that Bitcoin would show up here, much less that it would make sense in the Trump administration. So what do you think, Meredith?
It's interesting. I actually think that the reason that Trump is coming to the sort of aid of Savannah, which like, I mean, I don't know what him deploying all resources actually means, because I think like the Arizona, people would be like, excuse me, this is like our jurisdiction, etc. But this is my sort of conspiracy theory. Trump really needs Arizona. And this, I don't know about you, but like, I mean, this story is like very gut wrenching to me. And I think a lot of people, who have older folks in their lives, whether they be grandmothers or their own mother, are really sort of like, oh my God, like my grandma lives alone or my mother lives alone. God forbid she takes Uber. God forbid something like this happens to her, etc. So I think a lot of people are seeing themselves in Savannah and her siblings. I mean, like, I don't think that a lot of people think that their, parent is going to get kidnapped, but I think it's sort of like, God, if this could happen to anybody. And so I think that Trump needs to look really good here, because it's, this is an older, innocent woman who was just like living her life, trying to go to dinner, trying to go to church. And so I think it looks really good for him, regardless of what Savannah's like, not her politics, but what her reporting has been for him. Like his Fox News
is different than like LA, where he's like, they're never gonna vote for me,
So that's why he just went like full shit on Rob.
I mean, a little bit. Like, I think it's possible. And like, also, this feels very 90s coded. We've got a ransom letter. We've got people pleading to the television. I mean, I haven't seen that since like, Elizabeth Smart.
Right? On top of it all, it's the Today Show. Like nothing more 90s than the Today Show.
So 90s is Fox coded. Fox coded is Trump coded. Like, to me, it just aligns with like, and also like, what's the average age of like a Fox viewer? 80 some, like, I mean, maybe not 80, but like it's older.
Or like 65.
Right. So anyway, and I just, my heart goes out to Savannah and her siblings, and people have been like, oh, the brother's kind of weird. I'm like, how do you respond in that moment? And by the way, if I see one more fucking headline that's like, Savannah Guthrie won't be traveling to Milan for the Olympics. What do you fucking think?
Yeah, you think? I know. I also saw somebody be like, watch this scene from Silence of the Lambs where the person reads a victim statement that sounds exactly like Savannah Guthrie's. And I'm like, that's not a conspiracy. It's that both were informed by FBI tactics. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, people are looking for conspiracies. Can I also just throw, this is like a total tidbit but what you said about Arizona made me think this morning, this is like a little bit of a tangent, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to throw it out there. This morning, I saw a map that was all of the data that we have left and right everywhere of where ICE is in the country. And so like you can see it, and there's like bubbles that pop up, and it directly superimposes on the electoral map. Like you can look at it and you're like, exactly the places that ICE are exactly the places
Like
that
if you remember those maps from elementary school, you'd pick it up and it'd be like, oh, like
No,
this is where all the agriculture is. It was like
exactly. Like it is, you look at where ICE is and it is literally the electoral map. It's like where there are blue.
Which is Arizona.
And then Arizona is this place where it's like, anyways, I just thought that was
anyway, our heart goes out to Savannah and her siblings. I just will add, like, as you know, Savannah's dad died when she was in high school. And I've actually heard her talk. Yeah, he died when she was 16. And so I've heard her talk about her relationship to her mom, how it's like really unique. And as somebody whose mom died, when I was about that same age as Savannah, I know that feeling that you have about your one. And I'm not saying that but like when you lose a parent young and you have one parent left, you have this deep bond to that parent. And the idea that like you never want anything to hurt them, like anything. Yeah. So the idea that something like this could happen to them, I can't imagine what she and her siblings are going through. And we'll continue to keep an eye on this story. But Rebecca, there's a story you've been keeping an eye on, and you got to bring us up to speed because there's just so much going on here. And it does involve somebody ending a letter with thank you for your attention to this matter. So let's talk about it.
Okay, this is like a bizarre. Let's start with like, do you guys remember who Tulsi Gabbard is? Let's just start with who
Sure. Tulsi
Gabbard ran for president as a Democrat. She then like switched parties. She has like a lot of weird connections in the world, but then she switched parties and now she's Trump's director of national intelligence, which is like the director of national intelligence oversees the CIA. And it's like really about foreign intelligence and like taking out what's like happening outside of the world into the United States. We haven't seen her a lot. In fact, she was doing yoga on the beach during the Venezuela raid, which like generally that's where the director of national intelligence would be, is like in foreign raids. Nowhere to be seen. Then all of a sudden she shows up in Georgia last week while the FBI raided the Fulton County voter data center. And she's now it's like this weird, she's like in the corner, which she has like no jurisdiction being there. Then it came out that Trump personally called her cell phone while she was there. She put him on speaker and he gave a pep talk to the FBI there. Like, that is unprecedented. Imagine if Joe Biden had given a call to the FBI when they were raiding Mar-a-Lago. Like,
because the thing I think it's important for people to remember is that the president and the FBI aren't really supposed to have a connection.
No, right? Not at all. It's supposed to be a totally independent. Right. And also Tulsi Gabbard is not supposed to be there. So that's happening. They're bringing back, all of this to say is they're bringing back an old favorite, the 2020 Stop the Steal. What is Tulsi Gabbard doing there? So that's weird to start with. And then like the even crazier story that came out this week is the Wall Street Journal reported that there is a whistleblower complaint against Tulsi Gabbard. So a whistleblower complaint is when somebody protected by law in, like, usually it's within the company or within like the organization, does a tip saying like, I've seen this malfeasance and it needs to go to the attention of the authorities. And so apparently over the course of 8 months, there's been this whistleblower complaint that is so dangerous to national security, quote unquote, according to the Wall Street Journal, that it has to be locked in a physical safe. A physical safe, like with a locked key, and they cannot figure out how to bring it to Congress. And by the way, like there's been all sorts of rumors. Like Tulsi met with the Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad, I believe his name, who like butchered his people. There's been all sorts of like, is she a Russian asset? Like there's been a lot in there. So everybody's like, what is in this whistleblower complaint? And then the day before yesterday, Democratic Senator Ron Wyden, who's on the Intelligence Committee, so like this is where that whistleblower complaint would go, wrote an open letter to the CIA director saying that he wanted to show that he had a classified letter to him. Basically, like, it seems pretty clear that he wanted a paper trail saying like, hey, information. And then I also want to throw into a wild wrinkle just to throw chum in the water. Tulsi Gabbard was raised in, and we have no reason to believe she's not still in, a cult.
What cult?
It's an offshoot of the Hare Krishnas. It's like this guy.
Nice.
It's like it's a niche cult. I forget the name of it, but it's a niche cult. It was like a leader who was in the Hare Krishnas and then like has his own
broke out, did his own thing.
Yeah. And there's like, I haven't done like a full deep dive on it, but like there's a lot of anti-gay and a lot of Islamophobia, and like it's a culty cult. Anyway, so all of this to say is Tulsi has this weird connection to like investigating the 2020 Stop the Steal, which is very clearly about 2026 Stop the Steal, right? As we have an election come up. And then also, we don't know what this whistleblower complaint is. So that's been my special interest. And I just feel like we're just like not paying enough attention to it for somebody who was basically invisible, like was doing yoga on the beach during the Venezuela raid. So
I have a question, Rebecca.
Okay.
And that is like, what comes out of researching the 2020 election at this point? Like, to me, I'm kind of like, you fucking, like, you're back there anyways. Like, if I don't get something that I wanted, but then 4 years later I get it again, like, I don't need to go back and like deep dive the thing that I didn't get. Like, if you believe you want it, great.
Well, that's why I think it's about 2026. I think that he's going to like that.
Gotcha.
That's what I think is happening.
Okay.
They're looking for any reason to be like, and look, this is now happening in 2026. Like we are seeing and this is the federal government does not run elections. States run elections. But just this week, Trump said we should nationalize elections. We have seen so much election interference and like trying to meddle with the election. And that's what I think this is about, is I think that they're looking for evidence that in 2026 they can use to be like, this is not right. This is false. And so that's what I think is. It's
okay.
Like,
that makes sense.
That's what I think it is.
Yeah. Cause I was kind of like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I mean, not to be like that person again, but I feel like this is just more chatter into the ether to like distract people, and it doesn't really matter. Like, I don't think there's going to be a true election ever again unless there's like some huge like revolution or something that's going to happen. Like something huge needs to happen to change this.
My like only, I don't know. I'm like of two minds of this. This is like a longer conversation. I very, 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 very worry about free and fair elections in 2026. But the only way to combat that is for it to be quote unquote too big to rig. Is like every single person, like I'm going to go be a poll worker. Like not only am I going to vote, I'm going to go stand out in front of polls in places where like ICE might show up to make sure that people get in. Like we have to be so, like they're clearly trying to meddle with it, but I also don't want to like pre-capitulate. I want to be like, hey, everybody, like, let's get in, like, let's just take it super, super seriously because like there's fuckery about for sure.
So we got to choose to still believe in democracy.
Yeah, exactly. We got to choose so freaking hard because otherwise we just fall into their, if we're like, okay, I guess it's never going to be real again. They're like, great, perfect. We didn't even have to like kill anybody to get there, So
did y'all see yesterday when somebody asked Caroline Levitt about if there will be ICE present by the polls? And she does the thing that like any dumb blonde bitch, and I think I speak for all dumb blonde bitches, do when they don't have an answer to the question, where she's just mean. Like she'll just be like, she just does this thing where she'll be like, what a ridiculous question to even ask. That's like that is a silly hypothetical question. And I mean, I think that is one of the ways that I think they will try to, even if ICE isn't actually at the polls, they're going to scare people to think that ICE will be at the polls.
There's a reason why that map that I was telling you about overlays directly on the places where they don't want people to vote. Like it is not an accident that more than 6 months ahead of the midterms, people are getting used to ICE being in these very specific places. Like, we got to make this too big to rig. I really think that's the only possible way.
Wait, Rebecca, I love it. Too big to rig.
That's the slogan there.
Vienna
big to
trademark.